Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to be doing a review of basically the first fall inspired eyeshadow palette to hit the market this season, and it is the Too Faced Pumpkin Spice palette. I'm also going to be showing a demo of this look and talking about how it compares to the Gingerbread Spicy and Gingerbread Extra Spicy palette. So this palette is in that nice tin packaging that is super sturdy. It's nice and thin, so travel friendly. It retails for $49. It's available at Ulta, Sephora, and Too Faced on their website. Inside, it has a full-length mirror and 18 beautiful shadows. There are 12 mattes and 6 shimmers slash kind of glittery shades. It has a wonderful scent. I actually think this is my favorite scent between all of the gingerbread palettes prior to this. It has a slight bit of cinnamon, but it's a little more of a creamy, almost more vanilla-y scent than the two gingerbread palettes. So actually this is my favorite. Now the formulation on these shadows is really nice, especially the mattes. I think Too Faced continues to improve their matte shadow formula, and since there are 12 in this palette, that's a good thing. They are really soft and buttery. I didn't find any of them, even this pink one is pretty soft. Pink and kind of these bright orange or reddish tone shadows can be a little bit gritty, but that one actually is quite soft still. So they're silky smooth, they are super pigmented. You are going to need to just tap your brush in and then tap it off to avoid excessive fallout, but you don't need to dig your brush in at all. The shimmer shades, a couple of them are a little more flaky. This one, and this one have just a little more kind of looser packed glitter. I find those apply better with your finger or a wet shadow brush, but I have still found that they do perform well in that capacity. Now, as far as swatches go, let me put up on the screen here some swatches, and this is without any eyeshadow primer, and they're swatched dry. So you can see it is kind of an interesting color range. So we've got, you know, this whole bottom row is pretty cool toned, and then we have a number of warmer shades, and then just kind of some interesting pops of green. So I do like that they kind of gave us a few more color options. Now, if you're looking at this palette though and thinking, kind of reminds me maybe of the Gingerbread Extra Spicy or the Gingerbread palette, let me show you side by side. So first of all, with the Extra Spicy palette, when I opened up the Pumpkin Spice palette, I immediately looked at these warm tone shades right here. So on top is the Pumpkin Spice, right here is the Extra Spicy, Gingerbread Extra Spicy. And so you can see a number of shades just right off that look very similar. So I swatched 6 of those shades side by side, and I'll pop those up here on the screen so you can see. They are different, but some of them, the difference is so minuscule that on the eyes, I really don't think you could see a difference. Now, I did forget to swatch. There is another shade that is very similar, and it's the creamy, matte creamy brow bone shade in all 3 palettes. Actually is very similar. Now, how does this compare to the Gingerbread Spice palette, which is the first one that came out? I'll show you that one. So on the bottom here is the Gingerbread Spice palette, and again, you can see a difference for sure, but you can also see some similar shades. Now, in all of them, they all have a bright kind of orange and a bright fuchsia pink color. They all have this nice creamy matte shade for the brow bone highlight. But I do think that, you know, side by side, there are similarities, but there are differences. So if you have either of the gingerbread palettes, do you need the Pumpkin Spice one? Well, there are similar enough shades that you probably don't need all of them or 2 of them, but I do think that you could get some different shades, especially this row right here is going to give you some different things to play with. And this green shade, I really love this shade. I used it in my Too Faced Plump and Prime review I just put up. I had this on my lid and it's such a pretty shade. So I do think that there are some fun differences. Now, however, in this palette, the one thing that's really missing for me is that shimmery champagne inner corner highlight shade. You know, I love it. There is this kind of brighter pink shade. It's got a lot more silver, but it does have pink tones to it. And then this one definitely has a green tone, even though it has some gold, it has green in there. So I'm kind of missing that in this palette, and I would have rather had it than this shade right here. This one's kind of like a greeny, yellowy shade that isn't really one that I see working super well with the rest of the shades in this palette, but that's just personal preference. So overall, I have enjoyed this palette and I'm going to enjoy it. If you are somebody who loves these warm tone shades, but also likes to play with a little bit of some purple shades, this might be a good palette for you. Now, if you missed out on the Gingerbread Extra Spicy palette or the Gingerbread Spice palette, I don't know if Too Faced is going to bring them back this holiday season. They did that last year, but currently they're not available. So if you missed out on either of those, then you would probably definitely want to jump on this. This is limited edition, but again, it's just personal preference what your shades are that you like to wear. But overall, because of the high number of mattes in here, this is definitely a palette I think that I'm going to get a lot of use out of. And because of those warm shades being my kind of shades, you know I'll love it. All right, so now let's jump into the demo. I'm going to show you how I created this eye look and also show you what I'm wearing on my cheeks and my lips today. For primer today, I used the Fenty Beauty eyeshadow primer. I don't even know. Pro Filter Amplifying Eye Primer. And now for the palette, I'm kind of drawing inspiration from my shirt here. It's kind of a mix of fall and summer, I think, with the pink, cool pinks and the warm browns. So that's what we're gonna do today. So going into the palette, I'm gonna start off with just a little bit of this first shade. It's called Whipped Cream, and I'm gonna use the Sigma E50. And I'm just going to put this right under the arch of my brow. Because I have a little bit of a sunless tan, if I take this too far down, it's really going to make that part of my eye just a little too bright. In the crease, I'm gonna go in with this shade. It's called A La Mode. And I'm gonna use the Morphe M504. And just going to real quickly dust this through. This is a really nice shade. It looks pretty cool in the pan, but you can see as you apply it, it does come off with a little more warmth than you would think. So I'm gonna actually take this up quite high and just lightly kind of dust this into that brow bone highlight shade. And I'm gonna go down to a BK Beauty 206 brush, and now we're gonna go in with Love You a Latte. So cute. It's this shade right here. So you can see it's slightly more plummy toned than the crease shade that we started off with. So we're gonna use this now to deepen the actual crease. And I'm gonna bring a little bit of this in the outer corner, but mostly bringing this all through the crease and a little bit above. Now on the outer corner, I'm just taking my brush and just kind of going, I have it vertical, just kind of blending it up, making sure that my shadow gets above kind of my crease there. Okay, now I'm gonna go up here to the top corner here. This is called Cocoa Drizzle, and this is a cool matte brown, and I'm just gonna take that on the tip of that brush, and I'm placing this just in the outer corner, and this is going to kind of give me, I'm just dabbing it on, so it's going to give me some good pigmentation, but it's not going to be too hard to blend out. If you really pack on these really deep shades, I've found that they take a little extra work to blend out. So that's why I'm just gonna build a little bit at a time here. So again, just tapping the color onto the lid first, and then take the brush and just blend it up. And then I'm gonna go back to Love You a Latte and use that just kind of right around the edge here. And then a little bit of that first shade, a la mode, the first shade we used in the top part of the crease, just as the final kind of blend on the outer part of the crease there. Make sure everything's soft. Okay, so now we're going to replicate what I did over here on this side. And so I'm starting off with my E60 from Sigma, and I've loaded one side of the brush with this shade right here. It's called Oh My Gourd. And that shade on its own can be a little flaky. So I'm going to take this setting spray. This is just from Milani, almost out of that. And I'm going to start off first by putting this all over the lid. And even though I'm wetting my brush, it's still not giving me 100% coverage on the lid, but it's pretty close. But you can see it's just a really nice, bright, cool, kind of a silvery pink shade. And I'm placing that about 2/3 of the way across the lid. And don't worry, you can overlap that dark brown just a little bit, but don't take this all the way over to the corner. Then I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to go in now with the shade right here. It's called, right here, it's called Crisp. And this is a pink with a little bit of gold. So I'm going to take that and I'm actually going to tap that right here. That's going to bring a little bit of some pink there. And then take that same finger and go back into Oh My Gourd, which is the silvery pink one. Just tap a little bit of that on the inner corner. And then right here where the brown and our lid shades come together, we're going to do a little combination. I'm going to add a little bit of this really pretty kind of fuchsia shade. It's called You Spicy. And I'm just, really gonna lightly tap that just right there where those two colors meet, and then feather it together. And you can go as much or as little as you want. So I'm just going to kind of build that just a little bit more. Then I'll take my 206 and a little bit more of Cocoa Drizzle, and just kind of lightly go over those, kind of blend that outer corner brown into that pink shade. And then clean off that brush and I'm going to add just a touch of Spice Baby. So this is just going to help kind of tone that pink down just slightly. And so even though we used multiple colors, you can see it's just a quick little tap and it just really helps create a nice gradient. Now clean off that brush and go back with a little more of a la mode. Hopefully that lid shade should be dry, and I'm just going to bring this through the top part of the crease just to help soften the edge of that shimmery shade there. For liner, I'm going to use the Pixie Endless Silky Pin Black Caviar, and I'm going to start at the midway point and go get a little thicker as I go out to the outer corner. But I'm keeping it pretty close to the lash line. And then as I get to the outer corner, I'm just tapping. You can, if you have a lot of texture, you can just gently pull your eye out just a little bit to help smooth it, but I just like to not tug if I don't have to. And then I'm going to take the BK Beauty 204 with no product first, and I'm just going to go over the edge and I'm just lightly flicking it kind of towards the center. I don't want to pull this out because I don't want that liner to extend past my eye, but I just want to soften the edge of this just a little bit. So if you're going to blend your eyeliner, you want to first like smoke it out with your brush, then go and add shadow on top of it. So I'm going to add just a tiny little bit of cocoa drizzle. If you go in straight away with shadow, it's going to set the liner in place, and then you're not going to be able to smudge that liner at all. So I like to smudge it first and then just go back with a little bit of shadow and further kind of soften the top edge of that. The lower lash line, I'm going to go in with a little lighter color. This is the Urban Decay 24/7 in Double Life. This is a kind of shimmery bronze shade. So it's still deep enough to give us some definition, but with that little bit of shimmer in the actual pencil. It's not like chunky glitter or anything like that, but I just think it kind of catches the light and makes it look a little softer down here. I'm just taking that about halfway across, and you can see I'm kind of bringing a little bit of warmth to this lower lash line. And then I'm going to take just a little bit of this shade Crisp on an M432. Just kind of use this right here, right at the kind of stopping point of that liner. And it's just going to add a little bit of kind of pinky gold just right in the center, kind of go along with what we've got going on the upper lid there. After adding mascara, which I will leave linked in the description box down below, you know I always like to show you what I use on my cheeks and my lips because I think that helps finish out the look. So I've had a request to use this palette. This is the Sigma Blush palette, and I'm going to go ahead and use the BK Beauty 104, and we're going to start off with a little bit of this shade, which is Cordorosa, and we're going to start with this. And then I'm going to tap into a little bit of this pinken shade. It's cute. These are really pigmented. They're all matte except for this shade right here. They are really good quality. Very nice. I think that added a nice little bit of kind of warmth, but just a little bit of pink. Now for highlighter, I'm going to use the Persona Cali Glow highlighter in Zuma, and this is such a pretty golden shade. I'm going to use the MAC 140 brush, fan brush, to put this on the tops of the cheeks, and boy, a little bit goes a long way. I'm just wiping my brush off on my tissue here just to kind of blend that in. Woo! It's intense, but it's so pretty. On the inner corner, we're going to start off with a little bit of whipped cream, and I'm using the Sigma E27. It's just a slightly bigger brush than a pencil brush, and I just think that this is going to help us because we need to kind of cover a bigger area first with this. So I'm just going to kind of put that on the inner part of the eye. And then what I did over here is I just took a little bit of this highlighter, my face highlighter, and I'm just going to tap that there and then go back with that E27 and blend it. Finishing up with some lips, I went around the edge with the MAC Soft Ochre Paint Pot. And now for my lip liner, I'm going to use MAC Spice Lip Liner. And you can see that's pretty warm, so that's like this warm brown, but I'm going to balance it out with a little pink. So I'm using MAC's Fabby lipstick. You can see it's a favorite. That's all I have left. I actually really like that color combination. I don't think I've ever done that. And then I'm going to add just a tiny bit of gloss. This is the White Russian Sparkle from BoxyCharm. And here's our finished look. So I think this look is a good representation of this palette, that there are those cool tones and those warm tones, but you can make them all work together. You can do something like this that's not too dramatic, but you can also get some really fun dramatic looks. Also, these purple shades, I'm planning a future video using those, so stay tuned for that. But overall, I have really enjoyed this palette. I know I'm gonna get a lot of use out of it, and hopefully the information I shared here today was helpful to you. For those of you who might be considering purchasing this palette, hopefully this video has helped you make your decision. As always, I will leave links in the description box down below this video of all the products that I used today. Thank you so much for being here, for watching this video. Be sure you are subscribed. It is free to be a subscriber to my channel. Make sure you hit that button below, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos in the future, and I'll see you next time. Bye.